now like to welcome to the stage the Honourable Tom Koutsantonis, Member for West Torrens, the State Treasurer and the Minister for Energy and Mining, to deliver the opening keynote address. Minister Koutsantonis is well known to many in this audience, having represented the energy and mining portfolio as either Minister or spokesperson for over 10 years. The Minister has a tight schedule this morning and will not be able to stay after his address, although there will likely be an opportunity for one or two questions from the floor following his address. Please make welcome the Minister.
Uncle Carl, thank you very much for your wonderful welcome to country. Never seen it done in Ausland, which I thought was a great undertaking. I think the example that Uncle Carl and Mark showed us all is probably one of the great indications of what Indigenous Australians are looking for. It's not that they want more than anyone else. What they want is to be treated as equals. And the vulnerability that Indigenous Australians show when they welcome us to their country, welcome us to their home, I think is a beautiful expression of reconciliation. Now, I know that in this industry, more than most industries, engagement with Indigenous communities is paramount. And I've got to say, I'm exceptionally proud of the way the mining industry engages with Indigenous communities, and they do it in a really beautiful and respectful way, and it's a great example to the rest of the country. So thank you very much for the welcome to country, Carl. Mark, this is an amazing conference to put together with volunteers. It's something that I think a lot of South Australians probably wouldn't know, that a conference of this calibre is put together by volunteers and students, and for that I thank you. So to all the voluntary representatives who are here on the conference organising committee, thank you for putting up your time. And I understand Dr. Steve Hill is here as well from Geoscience Australia. Welcome back to South Australia. I'm not sure where we are. The SAEMC committee gives its time, its energy, and expertise to put on what is generally, I think, one of the best value exploration and mining conferences in the country. And your commitment shows, and it matters to this industry. And that's exactly why my department is proud to stand alongside you and the other sponsors at this conference. We believe in what you're doing. We believe in this conference. The work happening in this room, the science, the collaboration, the sharing of ideas, it leads to discoveries. And those discoveries become mines, and those mines give us prosperity, and they give us economic sovereignty, and they are vitally important to this country and to this state. So I don't want to underestimate to you the amount of support that the South Australian Labor government has for this industry. We are right behind you, and we want you to succeed. We want to give you a framework that allows you to explore with confidence and develop prospects. And that brings me to reforms that were in Parliament yesterday. Yesterday was the last day of Parliament before the next state election. And we took a bill, we started consulting on it in May, and that bill set out to deliver a package of high priority changes to strengthen the way we regulate exploration and mining in this state. It was basically a modernisation program. There's a regular sort of re-evaluation of the legislation. Now, one reform in particular would have had real benefit and practical benefit to everyone in this room. The time-sensitive critical term of exploration licences under the Mining Act, which is currently 18 years. The amendment that I wanted to introduce, that I did introduce, was to give the Minister, whoever it is, a discretion to extend beyond that 18 years, understanding that deposits take a long time to mature, and commercial considerations require potentially more exploration and more definition. And there are always exceptions. There are always going to be genuine, unavoidable circumstances where flexibility must be sensible. However, unfortunately, in what I think is a quite unique alliance, the Greens and Liberals voted together to block this. So we are taking it to the election. Now, usually at these conferences, there is no politics. But I wanted to let you know that we are backing you. I am taking this to the people of South Australia. It will be part of our election platform to allow us to extend these 10 years beyond 18 years on application. It's an important part of the industry's ability to continue to explore and to find targets, and I think it is an important part of this industry. But enough of the politics. There's a bit of momentum in South Australia, and it's not just BHP, which is a good thing. I want to recognise the work and the achievements and the enormous contributions that the sector makes to South Australia's prosperity and its growth. The projects showcased today reflect a real sense of momentum. And it's not just in one part of the sector, it's across the entire sector. From the earliest exploration work through to feasibility and full-scale mining. It's an industry that's on the move. That momentum is showing up in numbers. It's been another very strong year, with energy and mining exports topping $7 billion, driven by record copper and uranium exports. And they are world-class contributions to the South Australian economy. And one of the great privileges of my role is seeing the names that once appeared in earlier conference programs, small teams, big ideas, defining targets, now delivering on those plans and moving decisively from concept to execution. For example, Havilah Resources and Sandfire announced a new major joint venture. Serious investment backing a much-anticipated Kalkaroo copper-gold coalbait the deposit. This is the kind of collaboration that accelerates development, and we want to back it. We're also seeing early works progressing at Andromeda's Great White project, marking a major milestone on the road to premium ceramic kaolin products. And let's be honest, it's a win built on persistence. Andromeda struck it through the years of exploration, planning and community engagement, and now its resilience, its dedication is being rewarded with a real investment, and that is a great example to the sector and to the government. These deals, this persistence, this resilience, performs an educational role in government as well about how the industry can define projects and get deals arranged. Of course, there's Peak Iron's Hawke's Nest project, which is in the final stages of approval, making full use of the department's new scoping process. It's exactly the process was designed to do, deliver clearer and more predictable approvals. We've also granted a mining lease for Wendana Gold, Alligator's Energy Sandfire Uranium project that secured both a retention leash and its PEPR approval. Another significant step forward. And it's notable that every one of these projects has been showcased at the SAEMC over the years. So whoever's been in my role or other presenters have shown all of these projects. And here we are in 2025 seeing the next steps. Now shortly, the Director of the Geological Survey of South Australia will walk you through even more achievements emerging across our state. And I want to also say, when I returned to the ministry in the 2022 election and returned to the mining portfolio, it is my clear intention that the Geological Survey of South Australia, by the time I leave this office, will not only be the best geological survey in the country, but the best resourced geological survey in the country. And now that I'm Treasurer as well, I think I might know exactly how to do it. That made you smile, didn't it? Yes. There's no doubt that electrification is driving a lot of exploration. Almost every economy in the world, democracy, totalitarian, emerging, developed, is looking towards electrification. The rapid advance of artificial intelligence and the explosion of hungry data centres and the need for energy to feed them, none of that happens without the commodities that are being explored here in South Australia. We're enabling that global transformation. The core part of the government's policy is moving up the value chain, capturing more of the economic benefit here at home, but that ambition relies on a strong foundation of discovery. And that's why the junior exploration sector is so vital to developing those assets. Now, without new resources, without your work, there's no pipeline, no future processing, no innovation, no advanced manufacturing, no critical minerals that turn into critical metals. This is key to our economic sovereignty and, of course, the nation's defence. Asa Allen puts this into a very stark context. Over the first 20 years of this century, junior companies were responsible for 71% of all mineral and petroleum discoveries in Australia. It's not the established miners, it's the juniors that are doing the heavy lifting. Now, that's not a footnote. That's the story. That's the headline. You know, we're burying the lead here in the mining industry. It's juniors that are the tip of the spear. And that's why this industry is so vital. So here's my message to Australia's finance community. If you're not looking for growth, if you're looking for growth and you're looking for impact, this is where it starts. Don't miss out on the opportunity that's in this room. Yes, exploration carries risk, but all investments carry risk. Backing explorers is how we unlock the next wave of copper, uranium, gold, and critical mineral discoveries. The very commodities that are driving the global energy transition and the economy of the future. And the data supports opportunity. The ABS shows that over the past 5 years, 59% of exploration spending, 583 million, went into greenfield sites, searching for entirely new deposits. Now, these stats are remarkable. Nearly $1 billion was spent across greenfield and brownfield exploration, with nearly 60% focused on copper and around 11% on uranium. These two commodities are not just important, they're critical to decarbonisation, and that's why we continue to back you across the entire sector. I really want to invest in geoscience. Geoscience, I think, is the key here. I know how important that work is, and I think most importantly, the people in this room understand its value. Again, the independent analysis that Asa Allen examined in the economic impact of investing in pre-competitive geoscience here in South Australia, the findings are striking. By 2050, the Geological Survey's work will support $31.2 billion in economic output from already identified projects, and a further $6.2 billion from new discoveries yet to come. Now, what treasurer, what finance minister, what mining minister doesn't look at these numbers and think this is what the public is demanding of us? And it's in this room. And that is why leadership requires tough decisions in the parliament, to stand there in the middle when the right and the extreme left say no, that we have to back this industry and take it to the people, and we will. Over the past 2 years, the survey has focused on collaborative national drilling initiative with MinEx, CRC, and in the Northern Gawler Creighton. The drilling program delivered 5 new basement core intercepts and 2 basement sediments, enhancing our geological understanding of the regional geology. All of the information gathered is hosted on an open access dashboard, a powerful display of pre-competitive information to attempt to de-risk discovery. Now, I'm calling on industry to seize this opportunity. It's my pleasure today to announce 16 new exploration release areas across the Northern Gawler Creighton, a province-scale opportunity. 11,500 square kilometres of unexplored ground surrounding Cooperpedy rich in potential beyond opals. Our ground shares geological signatures with the great copper regions of our country, Olympic Dam, Mount Isa, Cloncurry, and a real potential for copper, gold, nickel and base metals. Critically, these releases include the first output from our South Australian Discovery Mapping Project, a deep time window into the state's geology. We've already drilled through the cover, we've already established the depth to basement, saving explorers with a high risk spend up front, stretching every exploration dollar further. I have more to say about backing your exploration dollars in the upcoming state election as well. And we've streamlined approvals because we know and we understand that time is money. Time is everything. It's key. And that's why the Geological Survey is what it does best, turning world-class science into opportunity and doing it quickly. Applications open on the 9th of February in 2026 for 3 weeks. And interested applicants are encouraged to make use of the open file information to assist with any of their bid preparation. I just want to say thank you before I take a few questions. This industry is particularly important to me because it's based on two of the great human traits, a thirst for discovery and a thirst for risk. You're curious and you're risk takers. And understanding our geology is a good endeavour anyway, regardless of the economic opportunity. But we are living in a very dangerous world right now, where even democratic liberal democracies are being questioned as a foundational form of government. People aren't trusting institutions, the media is in retreat, and we're going through massive disruption through the energy sector, through media, and through global times. Democracies need to have access to commodities that you discover, not just to protect ourselves, but to become entirely economically sovereign in our own right. Without the work that you do, the country is weaker. The work that you do makes our country stronger. The engagement that you do on land improves the image of this industry. So protect it, continue to take risks, continue to explore, and the South Australian Government will back you with pre-competitive data, help you with exploration, and give you the regulatory framework you need to safely invest in more exploration. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Minister, both for your address and those the very strong sentiment of support for the industry. It's appreciated. We do have time for 1 or 2 questions from the floor, and we have a couple of microphones roving. Do we have any burning questions that people would like to ask the Minister? It's an opportunity we don't get very often. Peter's onto it. I think it's Kathy Ehrig.
Thank you for the verbal support of the mining industry. One thing that we're also closely linked to is the education of our upcoming geologists through the universities and the funding state that they're in. You know, and could you give us any tips or thoughts that you might have on how the South Australian government might be helping them more get through these bad times when we see the geology departments across the country gradually closing?
I think it's appalling. I'm about to go have a meeting with Treasurer Jim Chalmers, and I will be raising the state of our universities. We've just merged our universities here to try and make the largest university in the world, and I'm very keen to back our geological survey, but there are clear delineations of responsibility, right? Now, the geological surveys should be a breeding ground for graduates to come out of university. My view is our department, the Geological Survey, should be doing everything we can to create a demand and then insist on a supply from the federal government. I am very concerned about the state of our geological departments at universities. In fact, I'm worried about all the sciences at our universities. I think we are letting ourselves down as a country. If a country, the landmass the size of Australia, and let me put it another way, Paul Keating used to say, we are the only country in the world to have a continent to ourselves. The geological surveys and the geology departments of every university and every capital city in Australia should be world class. That should be step one, not an afterthought. What can I do? I can create demand for graduates. I can give them a pathway into the industry. I'm very interested in better graduate programs in our department. But in the end, this is a matter for the Commonwealth. And every time that the state government steps into that space, they retreat. So it's up to all of us to put pressure on the Commonwealth government to make sure that each arm of government is doing its bit. I will do my bit and I will embarrass them if they're not doing their bit. And hopefully they would embarrass me if I'm not doing my bit. And that's how the Federation should work. But if I start funding university departments, all that will mean, it will encourage further cuts from the Commonwealth. We just can't allow it.
Continuing on that education theme, talking about nuclear engineering, which is run out of Flinders currently, which is great that we've got some wonderful students coming through there. But there's a couple of issues with that. One is that they have to go to the US to do their practical training at Rhode Island, which is a 6-month placement, which they have to fund themselves, which is quite extraordinary. And also the fact that they cover the nuclear engineering as it pertains to defence, but not nuclear power. So any thoughts on what we might do there to better equip a workforce to, deal with all of these other issues besides just, defence?
Right. I am not opposed to nuclear power. I never have been. Mine is simply an economic argument about it. If it stacks up and it's economic and it doesn't require massive subsidy from government, I'm all in. I'm fine. In terms of a nuclear industry, the Australian government, in a bipartisan way, has decided to enter the nuclear field. There's 2 things I want to say about that. The first is AUKUS will be the first step into training more nuclear scientists. If there are gaps between training Australian-based nuclear scientists, we need to fill that gap, because one of the requirements of the Australian government is everyone working on AUKUS must be an Australian citizen. There can be no foreign nationals working on AUKUS. Just step 1. Step 2 is uranium mining and the social licence around uranium mining. Now you might think, what's the link here? Do you know that the only 2 ports in Australia where you can export uranium are the Port of Adelaide and the Port of Darwin? You can't export out of the Fremantle. You can't export out of Sydney or Victoria or Queensland. I don't think you can even mine it in Queensland or Western Australia. But we mine and export uranium through the streets of Port Adelaide with a hard-earned social licence. So when it comes to the nuclear life cycle, Australia should be gearing up as much as it possibly can to train its own Indigenous workforce for national security needs and any other applications. But again, if it's about the state government stepping into where the Commonwealth should be funding, I'm not prepared to do that, because I think the Commonwealth government have a responsibility. Now, hopefully, ultimately, those nuclear scientists can finish their training at Outer Harbour rather than Rhode Island. So that's the next step.
Minister, thank you very much for your recent support trying to push through the proposed amendments to the Act recently. I think everyone in here recognises the challenges in bringing risk capital interstate this state in particular when we're competing with Western Australia, and security of tenure is very important. Now, what can we do as an industry to help bring or encourage in terms of perception those changes that will help get those important amendments to the Act through Parliament?
The government's taking this to the election. We're going to make this an election issue. So we think Middle Australia backs this industry. We think this is a sensible reform, and I think this industry could quite easily say, if one political party says we won't support this change and the other says it does, and we take it to the people and one wins or one loses, that mandate should be respected. And if the mandate is respected, what I would ask of this industry is to tell our political opponents, if we are successful at the upcoming election and we take this piece of legislation to the people and they endorse it, let it pass. That's the best thing this industry could do. But I'm not going to just get out there and say, look, vote Labor. That would be inappropriate.
There's probably quite a few conservative-focused people in here that are probably questioning their alignments at present.
Thank you.
I think we might call time there. Thank you, Minister, for your address.